Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Thursday night to join me. I really do appreciate it. Listen, thank you very much. I gotta tell you, I myself am just a little amazed about how well received some of these more recent videos have been, and moreover, the aggregate viewership over the past 990 plus videos. I gotta tell you, it makes me feel real, I don't know, I get like butterflies in my tummy, you feel me? This is the closest that I can get to an actual functioning adult relationship amongst many people. So, welcome to my little world. Things are crazy here. I don't care about much at all except for, the welfare of everyone else. And you may call me a certain type of way, but that's just honestly how it is. And in fact, tonight, I kind of want to touch on something that has been plaguing my thoughts for like well over 20 years, but we won't get into the history of my questioning my surroundings kind of a world area in this, speech. But I will tell you that I've always wondered to myself whether or not an unjust law is a law. And so that's what we're going to be talking about for the next 8 minutes and 45 seconds about, approximately. There are so many words that I forget, exist that I just end up like saying a whole bunch of words that just really mean one word. So you got to forgive me, right? But anyways, okay, here's my argument, right? And I got to tell you, I'll just preface a little bit. I've taken this argument to a very respectable Colorado Supreme Court judge who happened to be my professor in an ethics class that I took over at the Community College of Denver, okay? Now, again, all of that is public domain. I'm sure there are many people out there that know more about me than I do, so I don't know if that's good or bad or if it's just what happens in the 21st century. All I know is that those things are true, right? And so, in this time that I spent during this, school time, my student time at the Community College of Denver, I had a lot of really cool professors. No joke. I was telling my roommate, for example, that in the time that I had gone there, the son of the Alibaba founder actually had also attended out of all the universities in the world to attend, went also to the Community College of Denver. So, I may have seen him at a glance, but this guy was rolling hard. His father was one of the wealthiest people in the entire world, right? So he was one of those names on campus that you knew of, but you never seen. And when you did, it was because there was like a group of 30 people walking all in one direction to go one place, And so, yeah, true story, right? And so at that very same college, and shout to the tri-state campus there in Denver, right? So right in the middle of Denver sits a unique tri-state university. And what I mean by that is that there's literally three universities that all share the same campus. Kind of mind blowing. They have the best student union building in the entire world. So listen, I've gone out of my way to try and immerse myself in different surroundings, different areas of education, in different regions where I've received this education and stuff. And so, anyways, it's not like I did anything with it, right? I am, after all, a loser. So don't think at all I'm like talking myself up here or anything. I'm just saying that I have, in fact, had a really semester long debate with a former Supreme Court judge for the Colorado State. And, kind of the thing is I was unrelenting in that I believe that an unjust law is not a law. Now, I'll save you all of the technicalities of what like an oxymoron is and how absolute truth is sometimes made to be something that it isn't, and inherently that's false because there can be only one truth. Now, there can be different variations on how we perceive this truth, but whether you like it or not, right? 2 plus 2 is 4. What goes up must come down. These very basic principles that we all kind of understand, even if we don't really understand them. And so when I say that an unjust law does not exist, I'm saving us again the oxymoron in that, right? Because laws in and of themselves should be just. Now, some background on Western law, right, is that, the law that we practice comes from an area in Europe where historically white people had grievances with their private property. So, I can't tell you how embedded private property is with the kind of culture that we've created, whether we like it or not, here over the last couple hundred years in this particular part of the world, right? That's literally what we're responsible for, is the protection of private property. Now, again, to the end of all of what we may or may not believe in, it's been an incentive for rapid change. We've experienced industrialization. We're currently kind of trying to go through a time in the world where we're aiming to be peaceful. From the outside, it may be perceived that it could be we're peaceful, but when in fact we're not. There's probably not been a time in human history where more problems have, been around, just because there's so many people, and our lack of action, our inaction in making sure that the future generations of the entire world have a hospitable place to call home is lackluster at best. And I would argue unjust, in that at the cost of protecting private property over the last 400 or 500 years, we've literally, probably done a lot of government sanctioned naughtiness in that time, as we continue to do to this very day, right? This is something that has not changed. It didn't change, and in fact, it's gotten worse. I think that from the outside looking in, things aren't looking that well. And that's not a paranoid kind of way of thinking. That's not, any other type of than just being observant of our surroundings and recognizing that unjust laws are not laws. And again, I'm not an attorney. Please don't take my advice. I'm a loser. I have nothing. I got nothing going on for me. So, here we are. But regardless, an unjust law is not a law, right? Because a law should be just in and of itself. And even if, historically speaking, the etymology of how we practice law and how we practice governorship under that law, right? Because law and governmentship, these are things that go hand in hand. You cannot have a government if you do not have laws, and you cannot have laws if you do not have a government that can enforce these laws. And yes, sometimes the enforcement of these laws requires, a certain kind of interpreted force, maybe. I'm not sure. That's not my area of thought. I myself am an extreme advocate for anti-war, practice, and not just theory, but like actually not going to war with other countries and instead trying to help in ways that we know that we can help, and that's not by trying to spread religion or democracy, but maybe sometimes by just giving them money. Isn't it crazy how sometimes the things that we make up, like money, that we just make up out of thin air, how we don't use these things to fix the problems that we have, and we just make more problems with them? I mean, like, I just think that that's pretty insane. And I think that if we utilized, what we kind of already make up to help people, I think that there's a far more intrinsic value in that than there is anything else. It allows for free trade. It allows for the concept of free will to be practiced by more people than not. There's all these really good things that come along with having just laws, and nothing good can ever come from having unjust laws. This is just the way that it is. We will never live in a cool, equitable world if we continue to allow the United States Supreme Court to just sort of do whatever they feel like doing without regard to historical precedent and their responsibility to the Constitution, as well as upholding the law that fundamentally has shaped all of the policies and bills and all of the way that we live our lives. And these are very important things. So again, we can't have one without the other, but both of them have to be pretty functional. And right now, nothing is functioning the way that it needs to be. So, what are some laws that are unjust that are not laws? Again, I just want to end with one, and that's the Supreme Court ruling in the last 15 years that allows for candidates that are running for office to just get money from anybody and not disclose where they're getting that money from. Again, it doesn't take anybody older than the age of 4 to tell you that that's not a good idea. And in fact, it goes against everything that we stand for as a country, or at the very least, that we tell other people that we stand for. Because at this point, it's like we tell the world we're about something and we're one type of way, and then we invade their country and start wars. Like, I'm not sure like how the world can take us seriously when we continue to go back on our word, when we continue to be, a problem instead of a part of the solution. We force people to do things they may or may not want to do. Again, these aren't good things, and the world does not view us sometimes in the best way, and that's unfortunate because for those of us that are here and a part of this country, we know to the extent that we can actually be helpful and we can actually be a benefit to the entire world by practicing such things as, basic free will and free speech, and not allowing the very people that make our laws to break our laws. So, that's all that I'm saying. But we can't expect them to not break laws when we make laws that encourage them to be broken. I don't want to get too, and I'm not trying to sound like too weird, or I don't want to get complicated with it. I'm just saying that an unjust law is not a law, and no such thing exists. And it doesn't matter who tells me otherwise, with all due respect. Again, we're not in like a courtroom. I'm just expressing my right to free speech. I'm so sorry if it offends you, and I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just trying to let you know that when somebody tells you something is right when you know that it's wrong, that doesn't make it right. That's like the lay way of saying that an unjust law is not a law, and no such thing will ever exist, nor can it exist. So if we want to continue to live in a world that's civilized and that has a government that can work hand in hand with, the judicial branch, and ensuring that the laws that we make and that we pass are enforced in a way that is equitable instead of exploitative, then I think that that's a start. I think, we can start there. And so, regardless of your interpretation as to whether or not an unjust law is a law, that's not like at all what we're talking about. I dare ask you the question, if I told you to do something wrong and I'm in a position of authority and you just did it because of that, I would think that you're stupid, right? Like, I'm no offense, again, because you're doing something that I wouldn't do, that I'm telling you to do, that you think that you've been given agency to perform, when in fact that's just you doing some dumb. You feel me? Like, just because somebody asks you to do something stupid does not mean that you have to do it. And honestly, that's where it starts, right? Like, it starts with saying no. It starts with saying no to wanting to be exploited. It starts with saying no to not wanting to recognize unjust laws, because in fact they are not laws. They cannot be laws. So, I mean, debate that, Supreme Court. Where's Clarence Thomas? Where's the other fool? The only one I think, honestly, out of all of them, that I have a lot of respect for. Equitably, I have respect for all the Supreme Court judges. Oh my God. I'm just saying that my favorite judge out of all of them is the woman, right? The young woman that, and I say this because she's like 40 years younger than all of the other ones, and she's the one that actually is going to be around for a very long time. She's going to be a Supreme Court judicial judge on this United States Supreme Court for like the next 50 years. So she's like the next Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like legit, you feel me? So it's important that like people, including like the younger people that are on the Supreme Court justice bench, recognize that within the very framework of laws must also recognize change. And if they don't acclimate quickly and adopt change, then what good is a law? Seriously, what good is a law if it cannot act quickly to rapid change in a way that's positive for everyone? And instead, we just keep doing things that are counterintuitive to that. So again, an unjust law is not a law. And I'm done. And I'm out of character now. Hey, listen, I really do appreciate you guys. Listen, shout out to all the people and anyone who's ever been in my life that has, in a professional classroom capacity in all of the schools that I've ever attended, you know, where I was able to really immerse myself in all these different things, right? And in no way, I don't even think I've ever had a bad professor in my entire life. You feel me? Like, not at all. It was a privilege to be a part of this old Supreme Court judges class. Like, legit. Like, I like, had I known that before I signed up for the class, I would have signed up for the class. Like, I would have been happier to do it. You know what I mean? Like, she is a very smart woman, one of the smartest people I've ever met, without question. This woman knew about law. She knew about, I mean, again, she was a supreme, like, you would expect all the things you would expect from a person in such a position. She was, and she was above this, you know. Like, I was really happy to have that kind of an opportunity. And moreover, I was really happy to kind of have the opportunity to debate this with her over the entirety of a semester because, you know, from the day one to day zero, you know, she did her job and her mind didn't change, you know. But again, like, that's the cool thing about positive debate, and, you know, like, just talking about things in a way that, you know, you don't want to offend people, but you still want to talk about something that's important. And I think that we can meet in the middle here somewhere, because if we can't, then, like, what are we doing? You know, then, like, what are we doing? Like, you want me to just say anything and everything to make you happy at the cost of, like, you know, the loss of my soul, because nobody cares about me or anything else that's happening, or the people that live on the street, or the people that have no food, or they don't have, like, again, there's a lot of problems, right? There are a lot of problems going on right now. And the thing is we got people going up and out of space, you know, we got people exploiting workers by the millions on the daily all over the world. Good old Americans doing what they're supposed to do, I suppose, which is you know, take advantage of people, whether that's through force or economic force. I suppose it's all one and the same. And those things, again, those things aren't going to age well, you know. And again, it's very emblematic of, like, a lot of greed, you know, a lot of greed. There's so many people that need financial assistance that, like, it's stupid. There are so many people that go to bed hungry every single night. You feel me? Like, you can imagine the kind of mental toll this takes on a large part of the population, you know. And when we say that, I literally mean, like, tens of millions of people. So, you know, it's a problem. Yeah, there's some problems, you know. And so it's important to talk about, you know, things that are loosely important, and kind of how we can explore different areas to solve these problems, and things like that. So, yeah, it's going good. I'm chilling. I enjoy talking about that kind of stuff. I'm really happy that the channel's doing as well that it is, and I appreciate you guys joining me. I hope that I'm able to continue, you know, in the way that I'd like to, which is just this. All I can do is try, you feel me? And that's all that I've been doing. It's all I will continue to do. And moving forward, just know that I'm very grateful. Like, seriously, it doesn't even matter about anything else. Obviously, right? Like, you know, comments are off. I've made it a point in my life to try to make this a safe place for everybody to kind of just come and be entertained by some random middle-aged fool talking outside his ears, you feel me? And that's kind of like, so I hope that my intentions with this channel are just like, ever so slightly, you know, being met, you know, both ways, right? Like, and so I do appreciate you guys a lot. And again, I don't mean to offend nobody or anything like that, like, ever. Don't take it personal, you feel me? It's just constructive criticism at the very, you know, most of what it all could mean. And we could all be so much better people, you know? I mean, I spend 80% of my waking life, like, absolutely destroying myself. So, you know, I'm just saying, and all at the cost of me wanting to be a better person, you know, me wanting to be the best kind of person that I can be to those people around me. And, you know, I think when that happens, because, you know, I like to be good to myself, I feel like those are the best kind of situations in life, you know, when you care about yourself, and then the people around you, you know, equally care about themselves, and then you can care about each other, and then you can be a team, and then you can do all kinds of cool things, and that's just how the world works, you know. So, my name's Albert. This was Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys have a really good night, and I'll see you really soon, alright? Bye.